بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hadith number 13 in the series of Al-Arba een An-Nawawiyyah, the 40 hadiths compiled by Imam Nawawi. And by the way, Muslims, do not think negatively of the number 13 as those who have or believe in the superstitions do. 13 is just a number and it has no significance, no effect in our lives. And those who believe that it has a bad or a negative effect, they are committing an act of shirk, because this kind of superstitions do not come and creep into the religion of Islam. We do not believe in bad omens, and that is why 13 is just a number. The hadith was narrated by Abu Hamza, Anas ibn Malik, may Allah be pleased with him. He said that the Prophet ﷺ said, "None of you truly believes until he loves for his brother that which he loves for himself." And this was reported in Bukhari and Muslim. Abu Hamza, Anas ibn Malik, is one of the great narrators of hadith. He is one of the great companions of the Prophet ﷺ. He is one of the few who accompanied the Prophet ﷺ in all of his times. He was the servant of the Prophet ﷺ. His mother was close to the Prophet ﷺ, and she was a wise woman. Her name was Sulaym bint Malhan. And her husband was Abu Talha, her second husband, because her first husband died and her second husband was Abu Talha, may Allah be pleased with them all. When the Prophet came to Medina, Anas was below 9 or 10 years of age. So the Prophet ﷺ, when he came to Medina, she took her son and she said, "O Prophet of Allah, Anas is a learned boy, he's smart. Take him in as your servant." And he served the Prophet ﷺ not for any compensation, not getting any money, because his smart mother wanted the best for her son. And what could be better than to serve the best to ever walk the earth, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Who would be better to be served than the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? So Anas ibn Malik accompanied the Prophet ﷺ for almost 10 years. And he learned the religion from the Prophet ﷺ and conveyed that to us through narrating these hadiths. And this is one of the beautiful hadiths that he had narrated. The Prophet said, ﷺ, "None of you truly believes until he loves for his brother." His sibling? No. His brother meaning his brother in Islam. What he loves for himself. Now, what this hadith includes: none of you would truly believe. And this word has been used in so many hadiths in the very beginning. La yu'minu ahadukum. None of you truly believe if he does this or that, or if he doesn't do this or that. As we will find inshallah later on, that this form of using this phrase, "none of you truly believes," may mean a number of things. One, it may mean that a person who does this is not a believer, he's a kafir. And it also means that a person who does this thing is not fully or truly a believer. And this is the most authentic opinion of scholars. When the Prophet negates Iman alayhi salatu wasalam, this doesn't mean that he's a kafir. When the Prophet says, "Whoever cheats is not from among us," does this mean that he's a kafir? When the Prophet says, "He who his neighbor is not in safety from his aggression is not a believer," does this mean that he's a kafir? Scholars say no. Because Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they're different from the deviant sects like Al-Khawarij, like Al-Mu'tazila, like Al-Murji'ah. So many different sects. They don't follow the Quran and Sunnah, they follow their own whims and desires. Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah believe that Iman, belief, is not an entity that either you have it or leave it, it is something that increases and decreases. It has levels. And that is why you find in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. Allah is addressing the believers, and He's telling them to believe. And He is telling us that the believers have been guided and their iman has increased. So belief or iman increases and decreases. It increases with good deeds and it decreases with bad deeds. And that is why we know the Prophet ﷺ's hadith, when speaking about iman, he said iman is 70 plus branches. The highest is La ilaha illallah. There is no God worthy of being worshipped except Allah. So this is the highest branch of the 70 plus branches of iman. And the lowest, which is the lowest and the least of these branches of iman, is removing harmful things from people's way. So if I'm walking in a street and I find a broken bottle and glass shattered everywhere, I know that if someone comes and steps on it, he'll be injured. If a child walks barefooted, he'll be injured. So for the sake of Allah, I remove the glass and put it away. This is the minimum of the branches of iman. And the Prophet tells us, ﷺ, bashfulness, shyness is a branch of iman. So now I understand, to be a full-fledged mu'min, to be a full-fledged believer, I have to have all of these in me. But if I don't, if I'm truthful enough, if I pray, if I believe in Allah's existence and there's no God except Allah Azza wa Jal, all of these things, but when I see something that is harmful from people's way, I do not remove it, I leave it. Am I a full-fledged mu'min? The answer is no, because you have to complete all of these. And part of the branches of iman is this hadith. One of you would not become truly a believer until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself. But we have to indicate that, first of all, the brotherhood is only for the believers among themselves. As Allah stated in the Quran, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةً, that verily the believers are brothers. A Muslim who believes in the oneness of Allah, believes in the message of the Prophet ﷺ, prays 5 prayers a day with the Muslims, he is my brother. Even if he's from a different country, a different ethnicity, a different race, no problem. He's a Muslim, he's my brother. And I have to care for him, I have to support him, and I have to love for him what I love for myself. So the issue of brotherhood has to be explained and clarified. Secondly, the hadith states that you cannot be truly a believer until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. Now, someone says, I smoke, and whenever I take a cigarette from my packet, I look at my brothers around me, the Muslims, here, go for a smoke. Take this, take that. I love smoking. So, am I doing something right? The answer is no, definitely not. Because the hadith is indicating that you should love for your brother what you love for yourself of things that are lawful and good. Things that are forbidden and are bad or evil, you cannot share this with your brothers, because loving for them these things is evil and forbidden. And Allah tells us in the beginning of Surah Al-Ma'idah, chapter 5, Allah tells us, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى, collaborate on good and righteousness. وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ, and do not collaborate on sin and aggression. And when you love to your brother evil things because you do them, this means that you are not a true believer, because you're collaborating on evil things. So when we see someone watching a video, and this happens often, and he goes to his friend the following day and say, listen, this is a good DVD, it's a movie of so-and-so, it's beautiful, you love it. And we ask this brother, what are you doing? He said, Wallah, I watched the video, it was a beautiful movie, and I'd like to share this with my brother. He said, Akhi, you're sharing with him sinful things. And this means that you will be also sinful on the Day of Judgment. And this is the general idea of Islam. You guide people to do good things, you're rewarded. You guide them to do evil things, you're sinful. The Prophet says, alayhi salatu wasalam, whoever teaches people to do good deeds, he will be rewarded while they're doing their good deeds until the day of judgment, without deducting any of their good deeds. And this is why a da'i's job, a student of knowledge job, a scholar's job is the best thing on earth. Now I'm addressing you, I'm teaching you what I know of the Quran and of the Sunnah. If you learn from me and you apply that in your life, I'll be rewarded. I'll be sitting back on my couch, putting one leg over the other, drinking my green tea with mint, no sugar, while being rewarded because I taught this person how to pray. I taught this person how to supplicate. I taught this third one how to forgive and to pardon others. And they're doing it. So they're being rewarded when they do these good things. Who taught them? I did. So I'll be rewarded at the side of Allah as long as I'm sincere and I did this only for His sake. That is why you should be careful. We have a short break. Stay tuned. And inshallah we'll be right back.
Stories of glories, often that three, fought the pangs of poverty by selling gowns at 13. His blindness did not stop his unquenchable thirst for knowledge. Propagated virtues, prevented vice with decisions unchallenged. He is Sheikh Abdul Aziz bin Abdullah bin Baz, former Grand Mufti of Saudi.
We are not addicted to dawah. Addiction implies a short-term fix. One doesn't need to get into the zone to talk about Islam. You do dawah because it is a natural result of your commitment to Allah. If you don't talk, people are going to walk. The most effective combination in the propagation of true Islam is found in Dawah ilallah. Join me, Arif Islam, as we go through Dawah ilallah only on Peace TV.
Follow the tips to make the task of Dawah result-oriented in Dawah ilallah, next on Peace TV.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. So, when you guide people, you're rewarded. But be careful, when you misguide people, you're sinful. So I could teach you how to pray, I could teach you how to supplicate, I could teach you how to do good things. When you do them, I'm being rewarded. And that is why the highest in rank in terms of reward is the Prophet ﷺ. Because everything we do, he's the one who taught us. So imagine he's on the top of the pyramid. All those who come after him, they are rewarded for their good deeds, but exactly similar to it goes to the Prophet ﷺ. And from this we learn the mistake of so many Muslims who come and say, I will slaughter the sheep, sacrifice for udhiyah, one for myself and one for the Prophet ﷺ. Or I would recite the Quran and say, oh Allah, this is for the Prophet. Or I would make Umrah or Hajj and say, oh, this is for the Prophet. This is ridiculous. This is unacceptable. This is why? I love the Prophet. I want to do this for him. Akhi, do it for yourself and automatically the Prophet ﷺ would be accredited. But doing something for him or on his behalf, this is an innovation. None of the companions or the tabi'een had ever done such a thing. So you're innovating in the deen of Allah. Guide people to Islam. Guide people to doing good things, you'll be rewarded. Now, if someone says that I would not become a true believer until I love for my brother what I love for myself, and I would like him to share with me this beautiful song or that beautiful film or this beautiful drink which is haram, intoxicating. So does this fall under the hadith? The answer is definitely no. It falls under whoever misguides people, he will be also having the same amount of sins without deducting any of theirs until of the day of judgment. So be careful. The hadith means that you have to love for your brother what you love for yourself, of good things, of things that are permissible. And it is a sign of perfect iman. When you see people love for their brothers what they love from themselves of good things. However, you should never ever prefer someone over yourself when it comes to getting closer to Allah. So if I know that this woman needs money to pay the rent of her house, she's poor, never I would go to a rich man telling him, please give her $200 for the rent, she's in need, when I have the $200 and I can afford it. Because in this case, he would have done something and I would have preferred him of doing something that gets him closer to Allah more than preferring it to myself. In prayer, the prayer is called for. The Muslims are in their rows. We know that the best row is the first row for men. There's a gap, and I am behind that gap, and I see a friend of mine or an elder, and I say, please, go ahead. I shouldn't do this. I should go and be in that gap, because leaving the first row to the second row means that I am leaving a spot in paradise for someone else, while I should be the one who is going ahead and taking that point. We have to love to our brothers what we love for ourselves. And this is a sign of perfect iman. And believe me, if people had this in them, their ethics would be at its highest level. Because whenever you see something and you like for yourself, those who do not have perfect souls would be selfish and would not want anyone to join them. And you can tell when you analyze yourself. Don't ask people to tell you. You look deep down in your soul and you'll find this. When you buy a new car, latest model, beautiful color, nice interior, nice company and engine, how do you feel when you ride in it? You feel proud and happy and beautiful. What would you feel if your neighbor the following day bought a similar car? You will feel bad. You feel demolished. Why is he doing this? Everything I do, he tries to mimic it and to imitate me. Can't I have my own personality? Why is he doing it? You feel selfish. Now, you forgot the feeling yesterday of being happy and proud. You should have enjoyed this feeling and also shared it with the others. So when you see someone, you say, oh, may Allah Azza wa Jal grant him a car similar than mine or even better. Why? Because this perfects your soul. When you love to see good things to all those who are around you. That is why the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, whenever you supplicate to your brother in his absence, Allah appoints an angel. And whenever you say something, the angel says, and to you the same. So this is great. And it doesn't require you to be a rocket scientist. Whenever I want something, my brother is absent, my friend, my neighbor, my colleague. So I, in the middle of the night, raise my hand and say, oh Allah, grant my friend a righteous and pious wife. And when I do this, my wife hits me. Don't say that. He says, why? He's my beloved friend. He's unmarried and I'm asking Allah to give him a righteous and pious wife. My wife is smart. She says, you're doing this so that the angel would say to you as well, you want to marry another wife? And pew, she bangs and punches me in the nose. Well, this is her way of thinking. But seriously speaking, this is true. If I see a friend or a neighbor and I say, oh Allah, pay off his debts, the angel says, and pay off his debts, your debt as well. So you always do what you do because you love goodness for humanity. Al-Imam Al-Shafi'i spoke to one of the children of Ahmad ibn Hanbal, and he told him that your father, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, is among 40 of my colleagues that I supplicate every single night for them. I pray to Allah for them. People don't know this. So always intend good for others like you intended for yourself. If we manage to get this, imagine how this life would be. Imagine if we succeed in taking the envy from our hearts, so we're never envious to any of the Muslims. If I see someone buying a better car, mashallah, beautiful car, may Allah bless it for him. If I see someone buying a house, I say, I don't have a house, mashallah. I don't have any grudges or negative feelings towards others. Why? Because I love for them what I love for myself of goodness. If we manage to do this, then we would have no fights, no quarrels, nothing that would be considered negative, because our hearts would be filled with love and joy to the others. Now, once we have this in us, and as you remember, there are 4 hadiths that ethics and moral conduct revolve around. This is one of them. Once we love for others what we love for ourselves, you will not find anyone transgressing against his brother. You would not find anyone cheating his brother to take his money. No Muslim would fight with another Muslim or claim that he owns this or that which he is not. No Muslim would lie to the other Muslim, because he doesn't love people lying to him. No one likes people to lie to him. So how would I lie to others? Because I'm implementing this hadith, I would never lie. I don't like people to lie to me. I would never curse. I don't like people cursing me. I would never take people's money. I don't like people taking my money. For example, and this happens unfortunately, if I see someone walking with his wife, I would not look at his wife and peek at her and look how beautiful or ugly she is. Because when I walk with my wife, I don't want anyone to do this. In Arabia, usually this happens a lot. When I'm riding in my car and I see a friend and his wife in his car, I immediately move the other way. I don't want to embarrass my brother. And likewise, if my wife or sister or daughter is with me, well, usually I could care less because they're fully covered. So even if someone says hi, it's okay. But sometimes I meet a friend whose wife is not covered, and he comes in my way and he stops me with his wife. And this is embarrassing for me, because I do not want this to happen to me. So if we have this in us, if we are capable of doing this, wallahi, we would reach the highest levels of humanity and of peace. And look at the terminology that the Prophet said, ﷺ, you will not truly be a believer until you love to your brother. He could have said to your Muslim friend or colleague, but he said brother, because he's illustrating the bond between the Muslims. Regardless of their communities or their countries or nationalities, a Muslim is the brother of a Muslim. It was reported, and this is part of the stories that are told. It's not Quran, it's not Sunnah. It's the stories are told among the Muslims, that a man had a lot of rats in his house, and he didn't know what to do. So many rats in the house, so many mice. So one of his friends told him, why don't you get a cat and put the cat in the house? Now we know that buying a cat is not permissible in Islam. Selling a cat is not permissible in Islam. Buying and selling a dog is not permissible in Islam. However, if someone gives you as a gift, it's okay. Someone raises a cat in his house and she gives birth to 5 kittens. No problem. He can distribute. Selling is not permissible in Islam. So someone told him, why don't you get a cat into your house? And he said, no, I will not do this. And the man told him, why? Why not? He said, look, I'm afraid that if I bring a cat into the house, the mice would be afraid of the cat and they would run away from my house and enter my neighbor's house. And I would not want this to happen. La ilaha illallah. He doesn't want to save himself by endangering someone else. And this is the peak, and this is the highest level of being a brother to your brother. This is all the time we have. Until we meet next time, fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.